A short while ago near Kampala, Uganda, Pope Francis celebrated Holy Mass at a shrine dedicated to Ugandan martyrs. He was there paying homage to those Christians executed more than 100 years ago for refusing to denounce their faith. It's estimated that hundreds of thousands of people attended the Mass. CNN's Vatican correspondent Delia Gallagher is on the line. She was at the Mass. Delia, just explain what it was like.
Well, Linda, I think it's really been interesting to see how many people have come out and from how far here in Kampala to meet Pope Francis. We talked to people who said they walked for miles. People have come from neighboring countries to get a glimpse of the Pope, and certainly you saw that last night when we came in from the airport, about 40 kilometers from the airport to the capital city here, just lined with people, 10, 20 deep, that had come out to see the Pope, because of course he's doing all of his events here in the main city, but 84% of Uganda's population live in the countryside. So for at least the people who are on the outskirts of this capital city, they were able to get a quick glimpse of the Pope driving by in his four-door Kia, which is what he's chosen to go around in when he's not in his Pope-mobile here in Uganda. Now the Pope is resting. It's 1:30 in the afternoon, so he's having a lunch break, and his next event is a youth rally, which is where I am right now. It's at an airstrip, an old military airstrip that they use for outdoor events. It can hold about 100,000 people. People are still coming in because it's still about an hour and a half away. But it's obviously a major focus for the Pope in any country he goes to speak to the youth, but particularly in Africa, because, of course, some of the problems that they deal with, like corruption, like the radicalization of youth, are generational things. And so the Pope tries to work on a political level with political leaders in those messages, but he also tries to work at the level of young people so that they don't fall into certain vices that will continue, to damage their country. Linda?
And Delia, just explain the level of security needed for a visit like this.
Well, coming into this trip, it was really overshadowed by the question of security, because he's doing a three-country visit: Kenya, Uganda, and tomorrow is the Central African Republic, which is what is considered the most dangerous leg of the trip, because it's just an unstable place. It's had several years of civil war, and there's not a whole lot of infrastructure there to guarantee the Pope's safety. Now, I got to say two things. On the plane coming over from Rome, the Pope was asked about this, and he said, the only thing I'm worried about are the mosquitoes. And, of course, his spokesman said to us, look, his security has gone and done extra sweeps, particularly in the Central African Republic. Clearly, they work with the military of Kenya, of Uganda. I have to say, it's been exemplary. It is full of military. It is full of police. In Kenya, in Nairobi, they have the roads pretty much closed off, but that doesn't necessarily mean a whole lot. It's not like when they close off a road in New York. I mean, people were still wandering around and cars were still going through. But I have to say that the security is very visible, and a lot of it, of course, depends on the Pope's own Vatican security. They're the ones that make the call in terms of whether or not the Pope can go somewhere. And so far, we've been told last night by the Vatican spokesman that we are going ahead tomorrow to the Central African Republic.
Okay, let's hope that all goes really well. Delia Gallagher, thank you so much for joining us. Now, as we await the Pope's next event, CNN's David McKenzie stopped in Kampala, where he met a man who built a Pope-mobile that he hopes will get Pope Francis's attention. Take a look.
When Ugandan mechanic Moses Kayira got wind that Pope Francis was coming to town, there was only one thing to do: build the pontiff a Pope-mobile for his trip to Kampala. Okay. It's a bit snug. So the Pope, he says, is smaller than me, but also they can pull the doors off while he drives the Pope-mobile through the crowds of Kampala so he can wave. Moses sourced his parts locally and pulled images of the Pope from the net. He says it will all appeal to the people's Pope. Wherever the Pope goes, he says he's not a lavish person. He prefers to be down to earth and interacting with ordinary people. Pope Francis raised eyebrows when he arrived in the US recently in a Fiat 500. And his official Pope-mobile was pretty basic too. But Moses believes his hand-built four-wheel drive has another edge over an imported Pope-mobile. I made a rugged Pope-mobile, he says, to suit the nature of our roads, which are rough and full of potholes. Moses hopes Pope Francis will take a ride in his Pope-mobile, or at the very least, he says, his homegrown holy vehicle deserves a papal blessing. David Mackenzie, CNN, Kampala, Uganda.
Still to come, security will be especially high in Paris this coming week for the climate change conference. We'll tell you how the country intends to keep hundreds of world leaders safe. Stay with us.